Banai Feldstein is the president of the Utah Genealogical Society and has volunteered for the as a newsletter editor and webmaster. Her interest in genealogy began around birth. Can't get any earlier than that. Then reemerged in 1998. After earning her bachelor's degree in computer science, she set out across the country, eventually settling in Salt Lake City, where she's made the Family History Library her second home. This is Banai Feldstein.
I think I should bring this down a little. I'm a little shorter than him. All right, so first things first, there is a handout, but I didn't have a chance of getting it in the syllabus. Sorry? How's this? Good. All right, so there is a handout, and it is at IAJGS.com. It's right on that page. You don't need to follow along. It might confuse you. It doesn't actually go in order of the presentation, and I'll give you this address at the end also. And you can look around that site if you want, because that's my genealogy business site. So how many people here are planning to go to the conference next year in Salt Lake? That's a good number of hands. We'll see you there. How many of you have never been to the Family History Library? That's a lot more hands. You guys want to know the secrets before you know the basics, right? Okay, so I'm just going to jump right in here. I'm going to give you a little background about the library. We're going to take a little tour of the library, and then I'm going to go into some more details about some things. So the Family History Library is located in downtown Salt Lake City across the street from Temple Square. Temple Square is, of course, the home base of the Mormon Church. They're also called the LDS Church and the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. That's their full name. Temple Square is, of course, home of the temple. And the temple at Christmas from the Joseph Smith building. It's just very photogenic. I couldn't choose one. Now, when I was growing up, I don't know that I was even aware that the Mormons were their own church, but I had heard of the Mormon Tabernacle Choir. So the Tabernacle is the silver-domed building that is also in Temple Square. This is a picture from inside the library, so you can see how close it is. If you look a little to the north, you can see the state capitol up on the hill. And now that you've seen most of the important stuff in Salt Lake, you can spend all of your time inside the library doing research. Okay, so this building was opened in 1985. Before that, the library existed in a few different locations. The library is run by the genealogical branch of the Mormon Church. They're called the Genealogical Society of Utah, or rather they were. This is their old name. But you'll still see this around. It's on the building. It's on microfilms. Their current name is Family Search, and this is going to be fun to watch as all of their signs slowly transfer from the old logo to the new logo. They have a lot of the old logo in their building. They revealed the new logo at Roots Tech earlier this year in March. Now, the library is owned and operated by the church. It is a privately held library, but it functions almost like a public library. It is free for anyone to use. And you don't even have to be a local. For your public library, you have to be a local, but you don't get a library card. Consider that every public library has a reference section, materials that you cannot check out. Well, you don't check anything out of the FHL. You have to use it all inside the building. Now, you don't get a library card, but you can get a copy card. Now, digital scans from the library are free. So you could theoretically go to the library, do your research, take home your scans, and you don't have to pay them anything. But if you want to take home a new piece of paper, that you'll have to pay for. Now, I understand that some people are a little wary of going to the library because they've heard stories about the Mormons. They've heard about the missionaries that go door to door and country to country and try to convert everyone. But I want to assure you, this does not happen at the library. They do not discuss their religion with you at the library. They're told not to, and they don't. In fact, I think the only time I've discussed religion with them is when I ask for help with a record, and they ask me what religion I'm working in because it makes a difference for the content of the record, naming patterns, other suggestions they might make. So don't worry about that if it's on your mind. If you want to know about their religion, I'm sure they'll point you in the right direction. But if you don't want to know, don't ask, and they won't tell you anything. Okay, so now we're going to take a little tour of the library. This is the directory that's by the elevators on every floor. Now, I'm going to tell you where certain things are in the library, but when you go, I want you to check the directory because while I don't expect major collections to move, sometimes they do. When I was putting together this presentation, I discovered 2 large collections had switched floors on me. I didn't even know about it. So we're going to use the directory that we see in the elevator because it's shorter and more concise and more likely that all of you guys can actually see what it says. We're going to start on the main level. There are 5 levels of the library. 2 are basement floors. The main level is where you enter and exit the library. When you come in the front door, there's an information desk. It says information, but you just can't see it at this angle. And they have this huge mural behind it. If you turn to the right, you have that door on the right is the stairwell, and we have 3 elevators. If you continue forward, well, from that angle, you'd actually turn left. We have the restrooms and the water fountain. From another floor, you can see it better. The green signs are the restrooms. Women's on the right, men's on the left. They're in the same place on every floor because if you're going to be there all day, you're going to need them eventually. Now, when you first go in, if you turn to the left, you have what I call the grand staircase. If you don't take the stairwell, these are the only stairs you're going to see from the first to the second floor. Turning to the right, we have the orientation room. If you're one of those people who's never been, you might want to sit through orientation. Depending on who's running it and how many people are going through, it could be either 5 or a 10-minute video. And they'll hand you a little packet of information. A couple weeks ago, they gave me the floor plan, a pedigree chart, and a research log. On either side of the information desk, there are doors to the main area of the first floor. It says family history books. It's a little bit wrong. When you go in, there are a lot of computers. At the end of this row, you can see there's a big window that's access services. But on the first floor, we usually call it the cashier. If you have forgotten your flash drive, you can buy one from them. Right now, they're selling them for $6, and I think they're 2 gig, so it's a pretty good deal. In the back of this area, we have the family history books, just like the door said. Now, these are the books that if any of you were to write a book about your family and give a copy to the church, this is where it would go. Now, it was my understanding that they were going to digitize all of these books and remove them from the library, put them in storage, but given how many are there, I'm guessing that they decided not to remove them from the library. But they are digitizing them, and they're online at books.familysearch.org. Now, this was a surprise to me when I noticed family history books to the left and Canada books to the right. Canada books used to be on the 3rd floor, but they have moved them to the 1st floor. So this is why you need to check the directory. I haven't used a Canada book in a number of years, and they moved them. As we move, this sign is outside of the elevators. This sign is up to date, and so is the floor plan. It says family history and Canada books. As we move around the floor, we have this huge family tree chart. I like to joke that this shows how all Mormons are related, but it doesn't really. And it has a lot of people in it that are not Mormons, but it is just a floor-to-ceiling chart. There are some other family tree charts. Some of them look a lot more like artwork than family history charts. And there are some other artwork that are around the walls. You might glance at them. I usually only see them when I'm waiting for an elevator. Now, this is the first secret, actually. I didn't know about this until I was in Salt Lake for several years, and someone told me about it. Because if you walk in the front door, if you walk in the entrance, you go past the elevators, past the restrooms, past the classroom, and you head for the emergency exit door or the employees only door. I think it says both. In the back corner where you wouldn't otherwise go, they have a snack room. And they have tables and chairs. They put the newspaper up on the wall, drinks, chips, chocolate bars. One of the machines sells ice cream. One of the machines has some microwave food, and there's a microwave. So if you've been researching for hours and you've forgotten to eat and your blood sugar has dropped down to nothing, or your eyes are starting to spin in your head from staring at microfilm whizzing by, you can go take a break and recharge for a few minutes. And if you're there in the middle of the summer or the winter and you don't want to step outside, you can even eat lunch and not leave the building until they kick you out at 9. So we're going to go up to the top level. Did I say that there are 5 floors? I usually forget to mention that earlier. The top level of the floor, the 3rd floor, is United States books. Now, we're going to see a lot of similarities between the floors here. We have the information desk in the front. You can see the computers behind it. Here we have the computers from another view and lots of tables, lots of tables. We have the scanning area. I just couldn't get a decent picture of this. We have access services on the right side. And we have a lot of books. These are all the US books now. And they also have the map cabinets up there. Now, I didn't verify if these are US and Canada or just US, but I don't know where else the Canada ones are at this point, if they're not here. We're going to go down to the second floor. This is US and Canada microfilm, although that's not entirely true either. The microfilm are on this floor, but so are other materials. Of course, we have an information desk. We have scanning area, access services. We have lots of computers. In the back of this picture in the dark, we have microfilm readers. This is the only floor that has two different sections of readers. We have more readers over here. We have microfiche readers in the foreground. We have microfiche cabinets right by the readers. We have lots of cabinets of microfilm, and we have some reference books. We're going to go down to the lowest level of the building, the B2 level, which is the British floor. It's actually Australia, British Isles, and New Zealand. And of course, information desk, access services and scanners, computers, reference books, more reference books. I don't know if they have more reference books or they've just laid them out so it looks like they have more. On the right, we have the map cabinets, and on the left, we have the microfiche cabinets. We have some books, and we have some tables and microfilms. And the last floor is the B1 level. It's the international level, although we've already hit, 6 or 7 countries, so it's technically the everything else floor, but obviously, international collection is a much better name for it. And of course, we start off with the information desk, access services and scanners. We have computers. We have the microfilm cabinets. Now, this is a different view. We have a map stand in the foreground and also one in the middle. In the middle of the picture, we can see there's a map cabinet and there's microfiche cabinets. On the other side of those are more map cabinets and the international books and the reference book. There's also separate reference books, and there's lots of them. So that concludes our quick tour. So when you get to the library, you might go to the floor that you want. You go up to the microfilm cabinets and you see these rows of drawers. How do you find anything there? And the answer is familysearch.org. Their catalog is online. And this is what the site looks like. They just did a redesign right after they put out the new logo design. So you're going to go up here and you're going to hit search to go to the catalog, and you get to the search page. Now, I'm actually going to interrupt and tell you about this page because it is awesome and you should know about it. There are a lot of companies putting records online right now, Family Search is as well, and everything they're putting out there is free. They have indexes, they have digital images, sometimes they have indexes of their digital images. You can just come up here and search for your people. They have all the US censuses. 1870 and forward, I know that they have them all online for free. 1860, it wanted me to use a different site for the images, so I don't know about the earlier ones. You can also scroll down to the bottom of that page where you can browse by location, and then you can search the collections in the location. For the US, they have every state listed except for North Dakota, but they have Dakota Territory, so they just have older records online. These are the Massachusetts collections. I had to stretch my browser window just to get them all into one screenshot. And you can see there's a camera on the left. That means they have digital images online. For continental Europe, you can see they have a lot of countries listed. Some countries have more records than others. But every time I get an email saying there's updates, it's always there's 1.1 million more records online, and that's about every month I think I get those. Now, sometimes you'll search and you'll get view image, and sometimes you'll get explore viewing options, but those are free too because they ask you to sign in, and signing in is also free, and then you can view the images online. And I could talk about this probably for at least an hour. So we're going to continue with things that are specifically in the library. So we're back to the search page, and we're going to click on catalog because that's what we want to find. And if you can't read that red dot in the middle, it says beta. It still has a few little issues, so they're working out the bugs. And you can also go to the previous version, which looks like this. Some of you might recognize it better if it's been a while since you've checked the catalog. The catalog does have a few little issues. One of the problems is that there are 3 separate catalogs. There's the old one, there's the new one, and there's one that you guys aren't going to get to see. If you go to Access Services, that's the one that they're going to use to look things up. The problem with having 3 catalogs is that every time you need to update something in the catalog, you need to do it 3 times, and apparently they're not doing it. Here is a screenshot from the old catalog. This shows 2 different films in one collection. It lists it by the item numbers on the film. Sometimes the catalog will say what's on the whole film, and sometimes they break it down by part number. So this is only showing 2 films. It says one is international and one is in the vault. And from the new catalog, those same 2 films, they say they're both international. They're both in the library, which they are. I ordered that one myself a few months ago, probably. Now, I know that the screenshots are hard to read, but lights. I have no control over the lights. So hopefully someone will get that. Now, I did mention the vault. Not everything that Family Search has is in the library. Some things are still in the vault. Everything that's in the library, all the films that are there, someone has requested a copy. So sometimes things are in the vault. This is what it looks like. I took this screen capture from a video that they have online on YouTube if you want to look for it. This is the Granite Mountain Vault, and it is exactly what it sounds like. They blasted out part of the mountain, and they created a vault in the side of it. They keep it temperature controlled and humidity controlled. They think that the microfilm can last for 200 years. They also have computers in there where they're keeping the digital backups. It's really hard to get into the vault. I've never been in there to see it. You have to be a VIP to get a tour. So I'm going to talk about both catalogs at this point because I can't really tell you one's better than the other because they each have different issues. Something that's great in the new catalog is they have this type ahead in the search. They have the auto completion. So I started typing the word Kalish here. That's one of the cities my people are from. And I didn't type the last letter, and I came up with a list, it goes off the screen, of all the cities that match the beginning of the spelling of this town. You have to know the spelling that they use in the catalog. So the new catalog helps you find it. So here I wrote the first 5 letters of Kalish, and I got results in Germany, Austria, Montana, Poland, and a few other places. So I know that my Kalish is in Poland. So if I search for Poland, Kalish, it'll give me all the results only in Poland. The category is all hierarchical. It's country. For the US, it's country, state, county, city, township. And for Europe, it's the same thing, but they all have different district names. They're oblast, gubernia, rayon, uyezd. I can't keep track of which one I'm in, so I just call them districts when I'm doing Europe. So this is the result for Kalish. This is where some of my people are from. And you can see that there are 3 different categories of types of records. This is what the old catalog looks like. And this is something that's different in the old one. In the middle of this, I'm sure it's really small, but it says used for, and it gives an alternate name for the name of it when it was in Germany. I didn't see that in the new catalog. The thing to remember about the old catalog is the button in this corner is always important. In this instance, it says view related places. Now for Kalish, it's not that interesting, so I went up to Poznan, and I clicked on that. And this way I can click up to Poland, or I can go down to any of the cities in that district. Now to do this in the new catalog, you have to do it by hand. There's no button. So you go and you just remove the place name, and you search again. And then when you're in that place name, to go to see the list of places inside of that district, you just put a comma at the end of it, and it'll give you the drop-down list again. It's a little easier to see in the old catalog because it line wraps and it stays within the confines of the search box. Here you just get the list of places. Now this becomes more of a problem when you're searching a place like this. That probably got a lot smaller on the screen though. In this case, we have more levels of government districts so that the city names are actually all line wrapped. They're all on the beginning of the other line. So it's easier to see in the old catalog in this instance. Now I'm going to show you why you need to be able to go up and down the levels of the catalog, and I'm using an example from Maine. I have family that was in Portland, Maine for a while, Portland, Cumberland County, Maine. So we look here at the vital records, and we have 9 collections, and you just have to look very carefully at the descriptions, and you click through them and read the descriptions, and you find the records that'll match when your people were there, what types of records you're looking for. If we go up to Cumberland County, we have more records. We have 2 indexes, and we have more sets of vital records. Now, these should encompass the whole county. They might have every city in the county. They might just have some of the cities in the county. You have to check the descriptions. Usually they're correct. If we go up to the state level, we again have 2 indexes, but one of them is different, and we have 23 sets of vital records. These last 2 sets on this screen are where I found most of my Portland relatives. So even though I know that they're from Portland and I know that they were in Cumberland County, their records were at the state level. Now, when you get to Europe, it's less likely that you're going to find your people in the higher levels, but there are records there, and they're somebody's people. So if you're not finding them at the lower levels, at the city, at the smaller districts, you want to go up to the higher districts because yours might just be the few that are in there. Now, we're going to go back to Kalisz in Poland, and we're going to look at this set of records here. These are the Jewish metrical records. This is from the old catalog, and again, we're going to look at that important button on the right side that says View Film Notes. Apparently, people didn't always click on this in the old catalog, which is probably why they don't have this extra step in the new one. Now, when we look at these records, we see the film number on the right, and it tells on the left what's on each film. But the thing I want to point out is it says it's metrical records 1809 to 1892. Now, for years it said 1865, but they had the same records. Someone added to the catalog without changing the title. Now, this one's unusual. Usually, it'll give you the years that are in the records, but instead of having more records than the years specify, it'll have fewer records. Sometimes they missed a couple of books. They didn't know where they were missing, they were destroyed. Sometimes they'll have a few years missing. Sometimes they'll have most of the years missing and only a few years are present. So you have to look at the details to see what they actually have. Now, this is the same thing in the new catalog, and you just see you scroll down instead of clicking through to see the information. Now, this is another thing you have to watch out for. This is Czernowitz. These records are being indexed right now, so I'm familiar with them because I'm helping get the scans of the images. But this catalog listing says Austria, and Czernowitz is in Ukraine. Czernowitz is the old name. It's the old Austrian name. The current name is Czernivtsi, or it might be pronounced a little bit differently than that. So if you look it up as Czernowitz, you see these record collections here. And if you look it up as Czernivtsi, the record collections change a little bit. There's actually, I'm going to flip back and forth. There's 17 church records under the old name and 27 under the new name. There's 3 under the new name of Jewish records and 2 in the old records. So it really helps if you can find all of the town names, all of the various names that your town has been given, depending on what country it's in. And you really want to look through all of them because you never know where the records might be cataloged. They should be by the time period, but some records are going to be in all of the time periods, and some might be strictly in the older records, or they're cataloged like their newer records. So we're going to look a little bit more at how to find the records in the library once you've found them in the catalog. So the first film listed here, it's actually 2 films in the first batch. This is Family History Library International Film. International was the B1 floor. So you go to the B1 floor and you go to the films, and the drawers, a close-up of the drawers looks like this. There's a number on each drawer. The label is in white. These are the regular flow. The number on the drawer is the first film in that drawer. So if you need a film, you find the 2 numbers you need to go between, and you go to the earlier drawer. Inside the drawers, all you get are boxes of microfilm, and they're each labeled. The next film on this list says International B1 Overflow. The Overflow are also out with the rest of the films. They're just at the end. Every film at the library has been ordered by someone. It has been brought to the library specifically for someone. So once they filled up all the drawers, they need room for some of the earlier films sometime. They start at Overflow. The Overflow are marked in pink, and they're at the end of the other films. And it works the same way. The number on the drawer is the first film that's in that drawer. Now, the third one we have here says International B1 Access Services. Access services, there was a big window on every floor. It's usually by the scanners, except for the main floor, but you're not going to get film from the main floor. Now, if it says access services, it's usually one of two things. It's either going to be a restricted film, which means they might ask for your ID, they might have you write your name on a form, or they might just give it to you. It depends on what the restriction is. Or it might be a high density. Now, every floor has items that are in high density, and I was trying to find one that wasn't on the B1 floor that was in high density, but I couldn't find an example. Sometimes the catalog will say high density instead of access services. And this is what high density looks like. It is on the B1 floor. It takes them about 5 minutes to bring you the film. And I've heard that fewer people have been in high density than the vault, which I believe, because everyone wants to see the vault, and who cares about high density. But I wanted to see it, and I got someone to let me in. So I'm going to show you quickly what it looks like. It's kind of the library condensed. All of these are moving shelves, and each row is just a lot of books. It has a raised platform. It has sensors under it so that you can't get smushed in because it knows you're there. And in case someone doesn't trust it, they have a safety block. And they have these controls at the end. It moves automatically. Some of you may have seen these in libraries. I've never been in a library that has this out in the open. And you hit the button and they all move for you. Here we have 3 of them moving at once. So theoretically, I suppose you could just move the whole room at once, which if I worked back there, I'd probably do at least once. And they had a lot of books. I saw the Jewish Encyclopedia back there. We saw the Boston City Directories back there. I didn't even know they had city directories in books. I've only seen them on microfilm at the library. They also have lots of microfilm, and it's just like out in the regular area. They have the big cabinets, and they have rows of microfilm. Now, high density has its own cataloging system. So here we have pink numbers facing up for the high density numbers. If they bring you this box, you just twist it to the side, and you'll see the regular catalog number. And you can kind of get an idea of how much bigger these are for the microfilms. And that's our tour of high density. And these are back among the international books. So we're going to go back to the catalog and take a look at a couple more things. This is a book about the Jewish cemetery in Warsaw. I looked at this a month or two ago. And it says it's at the Family History Library. It says it's an international book and it's available. It gives no indication that it's in high density, but it is. In the old catalog, surprisingly, this one's more specific, and it does say, on the right side there, it says that it's in high density, and it even gives you the high density number. Here's another book. We were just looking at this, the Boston City Directory. I couldn't even find it under the exact catalog number because the catalog number includes the year of the directory. But it says it's a large Q book, which means it should be out on the shelf, but it's in high density. We just saw a picture of it. So unfortunately, the catalog doesn't. It sometimes specifies exactly where something is, like when it says it's an overflow or if it says it's in high density, but apparently sometimes it does not tell you when it's in high density. So basically you just have to do the research the way that I do. I mean, some people will ask me for records, they'll give me a list of films. I don't look them up in the catalog, I just go looking for them in the drawers. So what you want to do when you get there, when you have your number, your film number or your book number, you check the drawer or you check the shelf. If you don't find it, you go check the overflow for the microfilm. If you don't find it there, you go to Access Services because it's probably in high density. Now, if you go to Access Services and it's not in high density, if it's out on the shelf or if it's out in the drawer, don't feel too bad because when you're at this library, you deal with a lot of numbers, okay? The film numbers, the fiche numbers, the book numbers, a lot of numbers get thrown at you. If you're not dyslexic, you're going to be eventually. So if you go and ask them for something that's out in the drawers, they'll help you find it. Sometimes they'll bring it to you. I like to follow them and see where they look. I once followed them out there to find a film that I couldn't find, and it was about 4 drawers from where I looked for it. So we're going to go into some other specifics here. We're going to do the information desks now. Now this does say information on it. This is on the main floor, and unfortunately, this has the least amount of information in the building for the information desks. And they know it. They're just not told things. The best information I get here is usually they tell me who I should ask to answer my question. But if you are a first-timer, you do want to stop here and get your first-timer sticker. This will indicate to all the missionaries and all the volunteers that You've never been here, you don't know where the material is, you don't know how to use the machines. They're going to be there to help you, probably even more so if you're wearing the sticker. Now, I can't speak for all the other patrons, but I get asked a lot of questions, especially at the scanners. If I happen to notice that someone is wearing the sticker, I am more likely to jump in and help them before they've even asked me the questions. Now, this is the US-Canada floor. I've asked some questions at this desk. Of course, if you have a simple question, you can ask anyone and they'll all try to help you. But there are a lot of volunteers, and they're not all experts at genealogy. Sometimes you'll ask them a question and they won't know the answer. And unfortunately, they don't know the answer, but they want to be helpful and they're really friendly. And you don't want to be rude to them, but they're gonna waste your time and they're gonna waste their time, and they're eventually just gonna send you over to this corner. This is where the consultant sits. So if you have a difficult question, you want to go to this corner of the desk. If you have something easy like, where's the map stand? I'm sure anyone can tell you that. But when you have the difficult questions, you go to the consultant. This is the international desk. Most of this desk is consultants. The side that we're facing here, this is facing the elevators. They usually have volunteers here. The left side of this desk is Latin America. I hear them speaking Spanish all the time. The right side is Western and Eastern Europe. Now, I was told years ago that there is always someone here who knows German, which is good because that's like my weakest language for Europe. And they always seem to know Latin whenever I ask also. If you need help with languages, with the records, this is where you go. If you need help with, say, Polish, Russian, Hungarian, any of the other languages, they might tell you come back another day when somebody knows the language, but they do have people that know pretty much all the languages at different times. You just have to be there during the day, during the right day. This is the British floor. This is taken after hours, so the computers are shut down and the people are on the phone. This is one of the consultants, and he's usually sitting in the chair that's right next to him. All right, we all love these pictures, right? So when you're there and you're faced with all these films, how do you find them? Well, you see there's a sign at the end of each row, and that tells you what's in the row. And again, if you walk down the wrong row, don't feel bad. I do that more often than anything else with mixing up the numbers. I walk down one row, I walk back up the next one to get the film that I need. The books have the same thing. They have a sign at the end of the row. The sign underneath it is probably hard for you to see, but they list the states, so you know what state is in each aisle. Canada also lists the country. They also list the county when you get to the shelves. So I found this one without even checking the catalog. I just walked down the right aisle and found it. On the British floor, they have the signs that show, they show each county in each of the countries. They show the call number so you can find it, and they do have all of them there. They have two signs. The international floor, the sign below shows you just the country name. Now, with the microfilm, you have to go get them from the drawer, use them at the machines, and put them away. The books, they want you to leave on the red shelves. The books are using the Dewey Decimal System. So the microfilm, it's just a number. The Dewey Decimal System, you get a number, a decimal, a number, a letter, a number, a letter, a slash, a decimal. It's much harder to put them in order. Leave them on the red shelves. It's much easier. Sometimes it's a red card instead of a shelf. Okay, so we're going to talk a little more about books. Now, when you're at the books, if you find a book in the catalog you want to go check, you think it's going to help you, you want to look at all the books around it, because they're all the same location and they're all similar topics. Now, these are actually Boston books, and I don't know how easy it is for you to see, but the first one is Boston Marriages, Baptisms, or Births, Baptisms, and Marriages, and then the next one's Marriages and Marriages. Here we have Deaths, Deaths, Deaths. Then we get to Index to Vital Records. We have what sounds like it's going to be the index to vital records that are printed in newspapers, cemetery department, gravestone, burying ground, cemetery inscriptions. They're all the same topics. So you might not see it in the catalog, but it could be on the shelf. It was cataloged differently. It had a title you didn't notice. So you want to look around at the books. It's unfortunate that they have so many in high density, because this can sometimes you'll find the book that you need just by looking at the shelf. So we're going to go over a few of the reference books. I use one U.S. reference book more than anything else. It's the New York City Naturalization Records. It's the one right in the middle here. This is what the catalog looks like. This is some of the catalog for it. And it gets complicated to try to figure out what county you're looking at, which court you're looking at, which district, because some of them are listed in southern and eastern districts. Some of them are by county. In fact, we're at the state level of the catalog, and there's one set here that says it's Supreme Court Kings County. So that should have been in the Kings County section of the catalog. Well, what they've done in this book is they've organized it, and they tell you the dates that they have, the place, the record type, the title, and the court, and they have some notes. And sometimes people have updated this a little bit. This book was printed a long time. You can feel it in the pages. And you can see here on this one, it used to say no known index at FHL, and now two different people have written the same thing. God bless JGS New York. They have indexed these records, so we now have an index online. Here's another set that they have added 20 years of records at the FHL since printing the book. And this book is just full of pages of the old catalog. This is just straight from the catalog, and it tells you what film to go to for whatever volume, petition. So what I did is I made a cheat sheet. I can never remember what's in the Southern District and what's in the Eastern District. And I list out exactly what's in that book. I have the dates, I have the places, I have the courts, I have different notes. Sometimes there's an index in one section and the records in another. And I have the first film number. I didn't show you this in the catalog, but you can search by the film number and bring up the collection. So with this, what I can do is I don't have to search in the city or the county or the state to find them. I put in the film number, it brings up the whole collection for me. This is in your handout. It's the last 2 pages. I thought people might want that. Another tricky record to find is New York City vital records. How many people here have people who went through New York City? Yeah, a lot. The New York City vital records can be complicated in the catalog because there is a reason for the title names, but when you look at them all together, they look like they're just random. I mean, the second one here says birth records, and that sounds good, but then you look and you see that it's just Queens. And some of these will start with birth records, and some will say certificates of birth, and some will say Manhattan births. So the easy way to find these is actually go to stevemorse.org. Italian Gen and the German Genealogy group have these online, and they're great, and you can search their site. But if you search on Steve Morse, he gives you an extra column here on the right side that is the FHL film number. And sometimes he gives you 2 numbers. It's on one of them. It's usually on the first one, but I recently found one that was near the end of the second, so you can never tell. There are some quirks in the records when they filmed them, so that's why you get 2 numbers sometimes. So we're going to go to the international floor and look at a couple of reference books. These are gazetteers. These are some of the gazetteers. The red one on the bottom shelf there is Ukraine, and I happen to know that that is the one that they use for the catalog. They have designated certain gazetteers to tell them the district levels to put in the catalog and how to spell the names in the catalog. I don't know any others but Ukraine. Right in the middle, we have a couple of Polish gazetteers. Now, the one on the right, the red one, says 1934, and that sounds really good because there were still a lot of Polish people there, except that there are no Polish records listed in this gazetteer. Whoever put this together decided there are no Jews in this country, and skipped over the Jewish records. The turquoise set right next to it is 1968, and those list where the Jewish records are. Now, another great gazetteer is the Galicia Gazetteer. I have never seen this on a shelf out by the gazetteers. You have to go to the information desk, and you go in, and it's usually in one of the left 2 columns here. It moves around. It's on different shelves every time. Maybe some of you know this book. This one tells you where the Jewish records are also. They actually rebind a lot of the books they have, so this one's blue. And you have to ask for it. You have to know that it's there to ask for it. Now, this is turning around the side of the pillar. At the top, we have some dictionaries. You might be dealing in foreign languages sometimes on this floor. The bottom half are some of the gazetteers, more of the gazetteers. The secret here is that if you go to the exact opposite side of the pillar, there are more dictionaries right inside the edge of the information desk. These are the ones that the consultants will use, but there are some good ones in here. My favorite Russian one is in here, so I know about this. and I just go in and grab it. You don't want to take this one and walk away with it for the whole day because they might need it. But if you want to look at the ones that are over here, you can. So now we're going to talk about microfiche. These are the microfiche cabinets. This is actually the US floor. So the microfiche drawers look like this. These are harder to find than the microfilm because they don't even give every number. You don't see them. And each fiche is in a folder, and it tells you the fiche number, and it tells you the part number. 14 is actually a small set. I've seen sets that go well over 100. So the trick to refiling these you also have to refile in the cabinets. The trick is looking at the top and grabbing the red cards. And you want to put the red card in before you even take the fiche out of place, because otherwise you may have a really hard time putting it back. If you refile something in the wrong place, someone else may never find it. So you want to put it back in the right place so other people can use it. And when you come back to the drawer, it's really easy to see where it's supposed to go. And these are the microfiche readers. These are always right by the microfiche cabinets. This is one of the microfilm readers. I think the majority of what they have are this type. This is the one that I like. There are some older ones. I'm pretty sure they're older. This is another one that they have. This is an automatic one. They have a few of these on each floor, and there are some others that do automatic. This just saves you from cranking the film for 10 minutes to get through it. They have some specialized microfilm readers. These are high magnification. Sometimes the catalog will tell you to use a magnified reader, or if you know that you have trouble seeing, you might want to just use the magnified reader anyways. They go to 42 and 65 times. Now, these signs on them are laminated. So I know it's hard to see in this picture, but when you're there, you can see it pretty easily. You can see which machines do not have a sign and which do, because they'll reflect the light. And so you can look down the aisle from a distance and tell where the magnified machines are. Of course, the left-handed machines also have the laminated sign, and now they have magnified left-handed. I never saw that before recently. So we're going to go to scanners now. This is the new book scanner. I do believe this only writes to your flash drive. I met the vendor of this one at Roots Tech, and I talked to him for a little while. I learned a little secret about this one that's not in the instructions. Now, the last time I used this, I changed a lot of settings, so I seem to have turned off this trick. But there's nothing to hold the book down. So if you got a tighter binding and you need to hold the pages, you want to put your hands on the side, not on the bottom, but on the side and on the bottom half of the side, and this one will draw your fingers out of the scan. You can still kind of see them, but it mostly draws them out. Just the last time I used it, I somehow turned that off, but I've seen it do it. This is one of the copiers. How many people have an all-in-one machine at home? This is sort of their all-in-one machine. It scans, it copies, it prints. I don't use these very much because I've gone pretty much all digital. I don't print out, but you can also scan on these. So maybe instead of using the book scanner, you bring the book to one of these. And if you send something to print from any of the machines, you can print it out on any of these printers. And of course, the copies will tell you here how much each copy costs, and the scans are still free. This is a photo scanner. They have these are new. These are pretty new. They have one on each floor, and I have actually never seen anyone using them. I go during the evenings. I don't know if people come in earlier in the day with their photos. Now, I said that digital copies are free and scans will cost you. If you've been to the library, you might have a copy card already that you probably paid 60 cents for, and then you came back another time and you forgot it and you had to pay 60 cents for another card. They've done away with that. They have new cards now, and you pay the amount that's on them, and that's how much you get in copies, and you buy them in machines like this. They're reusable cards, so once you've used it up, you leave it in a box, you just buy another one. And if you have an old copy card, I'm sure they still have the machines around that they can transfer your balance over to a new card. And then we get to the microfilm scanners. These are all pretty new. I think they're a few years old. The Scan Pro 1000. All of the scanners are this type of scanner now. It used to be that there were a few scanners that printed and one that could make digital images. Now they can all do both. Now, they're all this type except for 3 on the US floor that are actually the Scan Pro 2000. It's a little bit updated. The software is basically the same. There's just slight changes. I cannot teach you how to use this today because this is the instruction sheet, and this is the back of the instruction sheet. These have a learning curve. These are difficult to learn how to use. They have missionaries there to help you. They are trained, and they're usually ready to help you as soon as you walk over to the scanning area, especially if you're wearing a first-timer sticker. So just ask them for help. Sometimes you can ask the person standing next to you for help, and they'll help you. I do that all the time. These are also for the microfiche. When you pull it all the way out, the glass opens up. That's where you put the film under. That's also where you put the fiche. So now we're getting to the maps. The maps are also on the Dewey Decimal System, like the books. So almost everything in the library is in the 900s because that's history and geography, so it's difficult. But you can see here they actually label it with the countries on the international floor, and they have the Dewey Decimal number right on the drawer. When you open the drawer, you get a stack of maps, and they're all laminated. And somewhere in the corner, it will say what the catalog number is. And when you're finished with the map, you place it on top of the cabinet. They all have a sign that says this. Now, the British, they love their maps. They have several of them out on the tables all the time, very big maps. Sometimes things are in the map stand. These are atlases. So the catalog should specify map stand instead of map capes, hopefully. And there's a few on the international floor, and this one's on the US floor. This book on the top is always open every time I go there. And we are coming to the conclusion here now. This is actually what it looks like first thing in the morning. I was only there once at 8 a.m. Somebody wanted to meet me for some help. And people actually form a line out the door all the way out to the sidewalk. And by the time I got to my camera, I only had about a quarter of the line left to take a picture of. And that is the conclusion of our tour of the library. So I don't know where my clock went, so I don't know how much time I have left. Thank you very much. And of course, the handout is at IAJGS.com. I'm on Twitter at Banai Feldstein, or you can email me, banai@IAJGenealogy.com. Are there any questions? Come up to the microphone for questions.
Good morning.
Good morning.
What is the difference between the ID tags that are in gold and the ID tags that are in black on the helpers or the missionaries that are at the library? It's been a few years since I've been there, but I did see that some had a black name tag and some had a gold one, and I want to know what the difference is.
I don't know. I don't know that there is a difference. I think they're all black. Maybe it was just when they were printed.
No, I had heard something about the black ones were more knowledgeable or something like that, or I'm really not too sure, but there was a distinction between the two. I just don't remember what it was.
I don't know.
Okay, thank you anyway.
Hi. Can you talk about using the local libraries?
The family history centers.
Yeah.
He wants to know about using the family history centers. I haven't used one in over 10 years because I've been living in Salt Lake that long. So I can't really tell you specifics. That you have to check the hours. You can order films there. They print them at the vault, and they send them right to your family history center. I think some of them will keep them longer than others, and they each have different machines. You just have to see what's there. Yes?
I was considering going next year to Salt Lake City, and I wondered why. And I came here to find out all the secrets of the family history library that would motivate me to go there. And I'm discovering that I have a computer at home and I can get a lot of stuff online. And the reels that I don't have can be delivered to me locally. And there are a few books on the shelves that I can usually find at the New York Public Library and other places in New York. Why should I go to Salt Lake City? Because I came here to find the secrets that would persuade me.
That is true that they are putting a lot online, but there are a lot of records they will not be putting online. They have contracts with the original archives, so they can only follow what's in the contract, and if the archive doesn't allow them to put it online, they don't. There are a few sets of records that are restricted just to the library or to certain countries sometimes, so those you cannot get to your family history centers all the time.
Or which means the thing that cannot be sent Are they indicated on the catalog?
They are in the catalog. They will tell you when it's
But they tell me
restricted.
which ones they are.
Yes, but one of the reasons to go to Salt Lake is because everything's already there. You don't have to pay I think it's $7 to ship each film individually. They have 2.4 million rolls of film, and they're all there, and you don't have to pay for any of them.
Talking about payment, you know what the night at the hotel costs and a round trip flight? Wow. I mean, I didn't think of the cost benefit, excuse me. It's a little, so I'm thinking of the cost benefit on a $5 or $10 or whatever per reel. I'll still be saving money.
Well, then you can use it at your Family History Center. But at the library, you can have access to all of it. You don't have to wait for however long it takes them to ship each film. You don't have to hope that
I've been
you'll
doing
need-
genealogy for 20 years and I've been waiting and I can wait another week.
Okay, then you can use them from your Family History Center.
Hey, Banai, I'd just like to answer his question. My name is Beth Long, and actually I've lived in Hungary for 9 years, and I just moved back to the U.S. So I've been to the National Archives of Hungary many, many times, and who has these same films that the Mormons do. Except in Hungary, you often can't find a machine to sit at because there's a line for them. You can only get 5 films per day, and you have to request them a day in advance. So I can't tell you how many American genealogy tourists I've met there in that library saying, I've come to Hungary to research my family, and I don't say it to them, but I'm thinking, why didn't you just go to Salt Lake City? Because that's where I moved when I came back from Hungary. So I will go to the library and sometimes go through 30 to 40 films a day. Not the whole film, but I'll start researching something and I'll find, you know what? This guy was born here, but his family actually came from so-and-so. So you just put the first film back and run and get the other films. You look up a few people and then the marriage record leads you to something else. Well, here's some entirely different town. And everything is totally free. There's no wait for it. You just go to the cabinet yourself and grab the films you want. And I've often gotten like 3 or 4 times as much stuff done in Salt Lake City as I would in a single day in Budapest. It's odd but true. So that would be my answer to his question.
Thank you, Beth. Yeah, the only things you have to wait for are if you need to order something from the vault, which usually takes a day, or if it's in high density, which usually takes them about 5 minutes to get for you. Everything else you can get yourself, and you can work as quickly or as slowly as you need to.
Since they allow people to put materials back by themselves, isn't there a high risk that materials get misplaced? And if you can't find something, how do you know if they don't have it or someone put it back in the wrong place?
Most people do a good job. Of course, I've been there for 10 years, and I've done a lot of research, not just for my own family. So I have seen just about everything go wrong at some point, but it's very rare that someone will misfile something. And sometimes they just put it upside down, or you can figure out where they've left it.
If you come across a map that you want a copy of, is there a facility to get a copy of it?
There are the copy machines.
Even for large-sized maps?
They are pretty large-sized copiers. You just have to figure out how to do that. I don't think they have a special copier available to patrons.
Okay, thank you.
If you know you're going to be there ahead of time, such as at the conference, and something's in the vault, can you request it ahead of time and
Yes.
have it there?
Yes, you can, from right inside the catalog. I believe if you clicked on the film number, I think it'll let you order it from the vault. And if not, there is somewhere on the site that you can order it in advance. And that is a good idea.
When the IAJGS gets there, is there a problem with overload at the library?
I don't think so. It might be a little more crowded. You might have to wait a little longer for a scanner. You probably can't sit at the scanners for several hours at a time because people will be waiting. But I think they'll be able to handle it.
Thank you.
They just had a very large conference. They brought in 7,000 genealogists for Roots Tech, and it was a little crowded in the evenings, but I think they were able to handle it. I wasn't there the most crowded evening, but other times they were okay.
Are there any U.S. court records?
Any
Court records?
court records? Yes, there are. You just have to look through the catalog to see what you need.
Are there any prison records?
Any,
Prison?
sorry?
Any prison records?
Prison records. I have never looked for prison records.
Some states I found Michigan.
There could be. You just have to look in the catalog for them and see if they have any.
Okay.
Yes. What is high density? They've just decided that some of the records will not be out on the shelves or out in the drawers, and they put them in high density so that they can put more of them in the same amount of space. Anything else? Yes. Have they got more records from Eastern Europe since the last conference? I don't know that offhand. Yes? Are there limits to what you can bring in? I do not believe so. People bring computers, people bring whole bags in, piles of papers.
Are
Yes.
there welfare records?
You'd have to check the catalog.
Okay.
I haven't used every type of record that they have yet. Yes? Can you do pictures of the map, like with your phone or with your camera, sorry? You can, they are laminated, so you saw my pictures, I have reflections from the lights. So copies might be better on that, in that case.
Can you think of any important documents that are not online, that they're only in the library?
New York City vital records are not online. I use those all the time. People ask me for those records. I don't think those will ever be online, but they are indexing them online. Anything else? Well, thank you very much.